Jump scares are a classic horror trope. Loud, sudden, and designed to jolt your brain with that little dopamine hit of fear. Jump scares aren't just in movies, but manga too. They're called page-turn reveals, and no one uses them better than Junji Ito in Uzumaki. His visual foreshadowing and tiny shifts in repetition burn unforgettably grotesque images into your brain with every turn of the page. I'm Gyoza Godfather, and Uzumaki's 7th chapter, Jack in the Box, is the one I can't stop spiraling about. At its simplest, a jump scare or page-turn reveal is just sequential contrasting images plus time equals scare. Movies and manga both have different pictures put into a certain order, and the big difference is time. In movies, the timing of a scare is fixed. The editor decides exactly how long you sit in suspense before the cut, squirming for your scare like a good little horror fan. But in manga, that timing belongs to you. Because guess what? You're the editor. Ito's page-turn reveal is also mirroring visual language for the classic horror trope. It usually plays out like this. 3 shots, 2 cuts. Character sees a dark space, cut to their terrified reaction, cut to whatever's scaring them. The fear lives in the cuts. And in manga, that cut is the page turn. That's why you get goosebumps and that little rush before you turn the page. I know I did reading Uzumaki. How about you? In Chapter 7, our horror heroine Kirie is followed by Mitsuru Yamaguchi, a middle schooler so obsessed with jumping out and scaring people that everyone calls him Jack in the Box. His newest fixation? Getting Kirie to go out with him. The story opens with Kirie and her friend Shio walking through the town cemetery after school, trying to avoid Mitsuru. They talk about how the graveyard's back in use and probably has some fresh bodies underfoot. Creeped out, they pick up the pace. Then, the first page-turn reveal. Mitsuru jumps out from behind a tombstone yelling, "Boo!" It's more startling than scary, but Ito's laying the groundwork. Notice how Mitsuru's mouth gapes open. His arms shoot up in a V, and he's balanced on one knee like a spring. He's practically rehearsing for what he'll become later. The girls tell him off. He mumbles an apology, then tells Kirie to dump her boyfriend, Shuichi Saito, because he's a drag. After that, Mitsuru ramps up the stalking, yelling from overpasses, jacking the boxing out of a trash can. Finally, he brings Kirie a gift. She refuses it and tries to give it back, and Mitsuru wonders aloud how he can prove his love. Then he sees a car coming and, mimicking something he saw on TV, jumps in front of it and shouts, "My love for you will stop this car!" It doesn't, because it's not love, it's obsession. And obsession doesn't stop anything. He ends up wrapped around the front wheel. After the funeral, Kirie unwraps the gift at her desk, a box labeled, "With Love Mitsuru," and she opens it. Okay, a few things to notice here. This one's a pretty obvious setup for a fake out. From the note on the box to the clown's face, it's all on one page. And the biggest panel isn't the scare itself, it's the reaction shot of Kirie. We're seeing the back of whatever's supposed to be frightening her. Ito's basically winking at us. This is a setup. So when the scary thing turns out to just be a clown springing up and down, it lands as a misdirect. It's the kind of false scare you get early in a horror movie, right before the real nightmare begins. The graveyard scare was startling, sure, but Mitsuru was just a dumb kid then, not something twisted. Yet. And of course, the foreshadowing keeps spiraling. The clown's arms are raised in that same V, with a spring as his only support, and the face painted with a hot dog smile. Ito's ramping up the repetition, cause maybe all this is just one spiral. Some time passes and later on she calls Shuichi. He tells Kirie she shouldn't worry and reassures her Mitsuru's death isn't her fault. Ito slows down the rhythm to 5 panels, giving us time to breathe, to think it's safe, and then twist the setups we saw just one page before. Look at how he frames this. In the earlier panel, Kirie and Jack in the Box are on equal footing. She's seated at her desk, still in her uniform, peering over it like she's studying a weird little mystery. Now look at the other panel. She's in her nightgown, sitting low on the floor while Jack looms over her. Same setup, different angle. Suddenly, it's a power shift. She's vulnerable, and when the voice cuts across the room, "It is your fault." She turns back towards the desk, and we're looking at the back of the Jack again. His arms cutting across the frame like he's hugging her, or maybe stopping her from getting away. This is both the visual repetition and the page-turn reveal that creates a spiraling fear in us and Kirie. And Ito delivers the payoff. The Jack's face is transformed, the painted eyes are now open and crossed, his mouth warped and blackened, his arms raised high like he's trying to make himself bigger, and the spring is raising him up higher above Kirie. We see the twisting of the normal Jack that pays off the foreshadowing of Mitsuru in the graveyard. Ito used that fake out 2 pages earlier to lull us, and now he mirrors that same framing to make the already terrifying evil clown face hit that much harder. The repetition itself becomes part of the escalating scares, And the horror doesn't stop there. The Jack speaks, telling Kirie that Mitsuru died for her, and that he'll be coming back for her too. Kirie says the line,
"Say the line, Bart!"
Shuichi is dragging Kirie to the graveyard, and honestly, Mitsuru might have been right. Shuichi is kind of a drag. His plan? Find Mitsuru's grave and drive a stake through his heart. Kirie points out he's probably not a vampire, and Shuichi's like, "A toy clown talked. You got a better idea?" When they reach the coffin, the smell tells them Mitsuru is decomposing. Kirie says he can't possibly come back to life, but Shuichi needs to be sure. He pries the nails off one side of the coffin. Suddenly, the casket's little viewing window pops open. Shuichi blames a pressure change from removing the nails and starts working at the other side to pull the rest. Then, a bang! Kirie freezes. Ito cuts between her anticipation and Shuichi's face as he looks up from his work. It's not quite a shot-reverse shot, but that's the rhythm. We get a wide angle of them by the open coffin, then two smaller panels, Shuichi pulling nails, and then the reverse. Both their faces tense before the page turn. Ito's setting the trap. He gives us the dark, empty doorway again. That familiar space where fear waits. But this time, it's in a graveyard, not a bedroom. And it's a coffin, not a toy box. The composition spirals back on itself. Same setup, new angle, similar objects, different context. The tension keeps spiraling. Turn the page, the titular Jack-in-the-Box reveal. The parallel is perfect. Earlier, Kirie unclasped a small toy box. Now, Shuichi pries open a coffin. Both are containers holding something that should stay closed. Both hinge on curiosity, guilt, obsession. It's all one spiral. Ito even mirrors the angles. When the clown went evil, his body twisted up and right within the frame. A diagonal motion of escalation. When we see Mitsuru's face through the viewing window, it's angled up to the left, a mirrored motion in the spiral. Ito closes in tight on Mitsuru's face. He's trying to speak, maybe to say boo, but his bottom lip is gone, his tongue decayed. The voice that once startled and annoyed her is now terrifying and grotesque. Then the remaining nails start popping out on their own. The lid lifts. Mitsuru's body springs upright, limbs bent and wrong, but still echoing the V shape of the Jack-in-the-Box clown. Ito makes him look full of springs, twisted and tightly wound. Everything up to this point has been winding us towards the final reveal. The moment Ito cranks it to 11, we cut in tight on his face, hear the wet rasp of his half-dead throat trying to make a sound, and then he sits up. This one's interesting because it wouldn't work as a jump scare in a film. The lack of continuous motion is the point. That pause between panels is what lets it hit. When we turn to the fifth reveal, the Buffalo Bill moment, as I like to call it, Mitsuru's standing tall, stitched together, grotesque. Ito's showing him fully upright, and we realize what he's been building toward. Earlier, the toy clown stood upright too. Its spring clearly visible, the mechanism exposed. But Mitsuru? His spring is hidden beneath his own skin. His obsession, his wounds, his transformation, all wrapped up in decaying flesh. It's horrifying, but also perfect. The spiral closing itself. And then Ito makes it move. Mitsuru starts bouncing, his body pogoing up and down as Kirie and Shuichi sprint away in disbelief. How the hell is he jumping like that, Kirie cries. And Ito answers visually. His stitches start to unravel, his guts spill out, a leg stays behind on one bounce, and then the other tears off from the impact. He hits the ground face down. It's over. Until it isn't. He springs up again. Look at his arms in this panel. They're already forming that familiar V shape. He's about to complete the cycle, to become the thing he died for. The next page gives us the confirmation. We finally see the spring bursting out of his torso. Shuichi and Kirie see it too. His arms lift into that flying V, the same pose as the toy he gave her. The spring below him, supporting him like a single knee, and his mouth wide open, silently saying boo like he did in the graveyard. Shuichi says he's become a spring, and he's right. Though if he had a moment to think, he might say, Mitsuru has become his obsession. He spiraled into a Jack-in-the-Box, bent on getting Kirie to be his. It's grotesque, poetic, and inevitable. The human spiral, wound too tight, snapping back into motion. He keeps chasing them, bouncing, unraveling, until he finally catches up, and of course he goes straight for Kirie. We get one last page turn reveal, but this time it's not the setup for another scare. It's the falling action, literally. Mitsuru's spring-loaded corpse launches past her, flying through the air, his right arm reaching out to grab her, shearing clean off midair, and then, finally, the spring flies free. Shuichi notices it first. It's the suspension spring from the car that hit him. And just like that, Mitsuru's twisted little love obsession flies apart. It feels like the end. But if you've read Uzumaki, you know the end is just the beginning. Everything keeps spiraling. What makes this chapter so good isn't just the scares. It's how Ito builds them. Every page turn feels like a trap you willingly walk into. And the rhythm, the framing, the repetition, it's all wound tight like a spring. And then when it finally snaps, it's disgustingly perfect. Ito's page turn reveals are his version of a jump scare, sure, but they're smarter than that. They're the tension that winds the spiral, tightening, releasing, repeating. In just 31 pages, he manages to take this goofy middle schooler and twist him into something unforgettable. The clown arms, the angles, the mirrored panels, it's all feeding the same motion, round and round till we spiral down. For me, Jack in the Box isn't just scary, it's genius. Ito's working at the height of his powers to create a perfect little spiral of fear. If you're still watching, that rules. Thank you. If you'd like to support me and support the channel, check out my Patreon. Until next time, this is Gyoza Godfather.